Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 25 years and still chugging celebration and banquet. I'm Dale Schmidtbleicher, the current president of the Lockheed Martin Recreation Association Railroad Activity. Thank you for coming out, and I hope you will all enjoy the time you spend with us. I've prepared a short program for you tonight that I hope you will all find entertaining and informational. This is actually a double celebration tonight, as it is the 25th anniversary of the LMRA Railroad Activity as a formal association activity with approved constitution, bylaws, and elected officers. It is also a celebration of the activity's 25th Model Railroad Show, which through the efforts of the activity's members is the biggest and best show yet.
All aboard!
At some point in each of our lives, I'm sure we have all heard of the story of the little engine that could, a tiny engine trying to pull a train up and over a mountain. I think I can, I think I can. Well, this is also the story of the LMRA Railroad Club, which from its beginning had the same thought, I think I can, I think I can. And so far, for 25 years, we have, overcoming several mountains along the way to get where we are today. Let's travel back in time to 1981, when several workers of the then General Dynamics Fort Worth production plant got together because they all shared a common interest, trains. And for those things relating to trains, it came as a mixed interest, modeling, history, prototype railroads, rail fanning, circus trains, and many other wide and mixed topics. But they all had the same focus. It all focused on trains. They met several times during 1981, concentrating their thoughts on how to become a formally recognized GDRA activity. December of 1981 found the fledgling railroaders getting a little bit of publicity in the GDRA at Play, a monthly newsletter published by the Recreation Association. A call for potential members of the fledgling GDRA Railroad Club was posted. Of all those potential members of the activity that showed up, there are 3 that are still members of the now Lockheed Martin Recreation Association Railroad Activity 25 years later: Bob Bray, Paul Dobbs, and Steve Mercer. January 1982 found those railroads discussing the items it would take to become a formally recognized activity. A constitution, bylaws, and election of officers were the topics of the January meeting. Just prior to the February 1982 meeting, they received notification from the GDRA Recreation Committee that they could be a formal activity, subject to the approval of their charter. At the February meeting, the first railroad activity officers were elected. Paul Dobbs was elected president, Rolf Kruger vice president, and Bob Bray was activity secretary. 1982 also marked the beginning of the monthly newsletter. They also selected a railroad activity mission statement. That 1982 mission statement states, "The purpose of the GDRA Railroad Club shall be to provide railroad-oriented recreational activity for all eligible members. These shall include, but not be limited to, model railroading, railfan activities, railroad historical activities, and collecting of railroad memorabilia." Planning continued for the remaining monthly meetings with topics such as whether the club should participate in modular railroading. There were clinics and demonstrations, tape and slideshow presentations, movies, and other how-to clinics. An excursion was planned for August of 1982. The club was going to take a trip to the Texas State Railroad in Palestine, Texas, to visit the facilities and to ride the train. 125 people attended that event, and all had fun seeing what the prototype was all about. In October, the club petitioned GDRA to become a commissioned activity. 1983 started off with new elections. Rolf Kruger was elected president. No vice president was elected that year, and railroad secretary was Bob Bray. Also, the petition for formal commissioned activity went through, and Bob Bray became the railroad activity's first commissioner. There was another first for 1983. In the early months, planning was commenced for the first annual railroad fair, which was going to be held July 16th and 17th of 1983. The first annual railroad fair was publicized by flyers. The admission was free. The event took over the large ballroom at the GDRA facility. Members were requested to bring in railroad-related items for display. The main attraction was a 30-foot by 50-foot modular HO scale layout assembled by the LSR Cowcatchers and the Metromod Model Railroad Club. Attendees could actually see what model railroading was all about, with actual model trains running through various scenes. Videotapes and a slideshow were also featured. Local hobby shops were asked to participate with displays and sales tables. Other flea market memorabilia items were also available. The show was a huge success. In October, the members discussed the formation of a club member modular railroad group. At Christmas vacation, a club-sponsored layout tour was planned. Another highlight of 1983 was getting some press coverage by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram for the young fledgling railroad club. To quote our past commissioner and current vice president, "Collecting trains are a way of relaxing and releasing the pressures of everyday life," said Bobby Bray, a General Dynamics employee and model railroad collector. "Our club is for people who enjoy the magic of old things, like trains." 1984 found the club with many things going on. The modular group was well underway under the direction of Howard Scanlon and Rolf Kruger. By August 18th at exactly 12:57 p.m., the first train made its way around the modular layout. The layout at that time consisted of 10 member modules, and the club owned 4 corner modules. There was a total of about 60 running feet of railroad track. This slide depicts all those members of the club that at one time were members of the modular group. The club's focus as far as the annual railroad shows were concerned was to always be bigger and better. The club's second annual railroad fair took place in September of 1984. By August of 1984, things for the show were coming together very nicely. There were 28 exhibitors, 30 tables already booked. Some of the model railroaders' wives were also displaying 3 tables worth of miniatures. Other participants at the show were Amtrak, Santa Fe, Union Pacific, Burlington Northern, the American Association of Railroads, the Southwest Railroad Historical Society, Texas State Railroad, Department of Railroad Safety, and several of the local hobby shops. The modular layouts included the new GDRA Railroad Club modular group, Metromod, North Texas N-Track, and the Red River modular group. The show was bigger and better, taking up both the large and the small ballrooms at the GDRA facility. Admission to the show was still free. As I mentioned before, the call of the railroad activity, as far as the annual train shows was concerned, was to plan them to be bigger and better than the previous year. In 1985, the railroad activity added an admission cost to the show, $2 per person or $5 per family. We also expanded to the space that included 4 of the classrooms. While not too many photos exist or are available of the club shows, mainly due to members being very busy running the show or the modular layout than to take pictures, I will try to show a few that I did come across. In 1986, we expanded the show into the remaining 5th classroom and also took over the main hallway where the classrooms are located. Part of the show has been to provide some type of food service availability, mainly for the dealers and the club members, but this also expanded to the general public. When the permanent layout was started, we opened up the layout room to display the layout to the general public and its progressing stage of construction. We also ran trains around the layout for the benefit of all. We also varied the local modular layouts that were invited to come set up for the show. We also added a large G-scale layout, which was a big hit with the kids. When we finally filled all the available space in the main clubhouse building, we added how-to clinics. Club members showed the general public who were interested on such topics as how to construct a model train layout, how to weather plastic to look like real wood or brick, control systems, sound systems, weathering, making trees, photography, and many other railroad-related topics. The Recreation Center, which was previously concerned about the wood floors in the new Health Fitness Center, finally agreed after a few years to allow the railroad activity to move the bulk of the show down into the two gymnasiums where we are today. This allowed us much more square feet, and we could expand the amount of dealer tables and modular layout space, and therefore expand the show once again. Over the years, the admission price slowly was increased, the funds going in to help the construction of the permanent layout and all the nice toys that go along with it. Each new price increase was held for a few years and has always remained behind the National Train Show entrance fees. Besides putting on our annual train shows, the club has also been active in other areas of interest. The GDRA Railroad activity was one of the original founding clubs in the North Texas Council of Model Railroad Clubs. This is a group of local Dallas-Fort Worth area railroad clubs that banded together to promote the hobby of model railroading by putting on 2 train shows each year, one in Fort Worth and one in Dallas. Members of the GDRA railroad activity had helped in the operation of the council and promotion of the annual railroad shows in many ways. For the last several years, the Recreation Association has held open houses to sponsor all the activities in support of more membership. Several members have helped support the railroad activity by creating displays, manning information tables, creating and providing flyers, and distributing club information brochures. Once the railroad activity was granted permanent layout space, several members decided to test their modeling skills and construct a supermodule. The supermodule was a way to develop techniques that would later be used to construct the permanent layout. The supermodule is a switching layout, or a small layout designed as a puzzle. By moving certain car types to certain industries with limited spur siding and runaround space, the object is to complete the task in a minimum amount of moves or quickest time. The names that appear on this slide are the club's spirit train riders. As work on the railroad activity permanent layout progressed, passenger train operations were begun. One of the ideas that was suggested and took shape was to honor those active railroad activity members who had passed away through the years. Each member name was placed on a placard, and then the placard was placed on the side of one of the passenger cars. The trains, the Gulf and Denver and the St. Charles and Western, were nicknamed the Spirit Trains. Although it is a way of honoring past members, the current members all agree that this is one train that you want to be sure to miss by being left behind on the station platform as the trains pull out of the station. For the last part of my presentation, let me now take a few minutes to tell you all about the club's permanent layout. The layout was named after the original General Dynamics Recreation Association when the club was formed, i.e. GDRA. An encompassing name was given to the layout which incorporates all the initials. This was not changed when Lockheed Corporation bought out the General Dynamics Fort Worth division in March of 1993. About a year later, Lockheed merged with Martin Aerospace, and the Recreation Center became the Lockheed Martin Recreation Association. The railroad activity elected not to change its name and to keep its association with the initials GDRA, which now stands for the Gulf and Denver Railroad Authority. There are 4 distinct railroads that make up the club layout. These are controlled by the Gulf and Denver Railroad Authority, GDRA, which is a holding company according to historical records for the various railroads. The rail lines that are on the layout are the Gulf and Denver Railroad, G&D, the St. Charles and Western Railroad, SC&W, the Port Allen Terminal Railroad, PAT, and the Lone Pine and Eagle Pass Railroad, LP and EP. The room where the club's permanent layout resides, the Men's Old Health Fitness Room in the main building, was obtained from the Recreation Center in November of 1988, after the new Health Fitness Center building and its gymnasiums were completed. The planning for the construction of a large club layout was begun shortly thereafter. The room was first renovated, showers taken out, new floor laid down, the walls painted, and track lighting added during the next few months. After the renovation, the HO Scale Modular Layout Group set up their modules semi-permanently and operated in the room until plans for the permanent layout were finalized. About 20 die-hard club members are responsible for performing all the design and labor on the permanent layout. Work was and is being guided by a committee of members specializing in specific tasks. The layout committee consists of Bob Bray, planning, Cecil Lassiter, planning, benchwork, electrical and signals, Roger McFadden, construction and electrical, Charles Link, track, control panels, and printed circuit boards, and Dale Schmidtbleicher, planning, scenery, structures, and backdrops. Many other members, including several of the newest members, have provided countless of hours working with and under the direction of these committee members. The portion of the room used for the HO scale layout is approximately 1,200 square feet. Construction on the permanent club layout was started in April of 1989, about 6 months after the club obtained the dedicated space in the LMRA main building. A Golden Spike ceremony was celebrated on 16 July 1990 to celebrate the completion of the laying of all the mainline track on the club's new layout. The club's permanent layout room is L-shaped, and the layout was designed as an around-the-walls layout with the dogleg center peninsula. The layout is controlled by EasyDCC command and control for railroad operation. Trains are dispatched by means of a dispatcher's booth with a CTC panel located in the same room. The layout incorporates 34 scale miles of HO nickel-silver Atlas code track and over 220 PACO switches. There are 7.5 scale miles of main line. The rest of the track is in the yards, on the loops, sidings, branch lines, and at the wharf. The layout was designed with two separate main lines that run between the off-line cities of Gulf and Denver. Gulf and Denver form a staging yard under the south end of the layout, which has a capacity of 10 trains. The mainline cities that appear on the layout are St. Charles and Cimarron. Each main line is at a different elevation, and therefore there are a lot of scenic views created via the bridges and tunnels that support the main line. There is also a short line along the south wall of the layout between the mountain areas of Red Mesa and Silver Ridge. There's a 6-yard staging track behind the dispatcher's area known as Rock Springs, and a 5-track staging yard known as the Steel Mill along the west wall. The club designed and special ordered 5 sets of uniquely designed cars to add the layout railroad names to the rolling stock. Each is a different car style with individual logo, model, and look. The first order was for a 40-foot single-door PS1 steel boxcar in pine green for the Gulf and Denver Railroad. The G&D car reflects the motto, Route of the Mountaineer. The second order was for a different style 40-foot AAR double-door boxcar in caboose red for the St. Charles and Western Railroad, with its motto, Serving the West. For Order 3, we had a special club car designed, a 40-foot PS-1 steel boxcar in pine green, made for the Gulf and Denver Railroad Authority, GDRA, with its unique Texas with Exploding Star logo and the motto, Rolling West. Our fourth order was for a 34-foot Canton Car Company twin bay hopper car for the Port Allen Terminal Railroad. It doesn't have a motto, but rather a unique logo design. These cars are used in coal and limestone service. Our final order was for a White and Tuscan wood-sided ice reefer named for the short line Lone Pine and Eagle Pass Railway. We had this car lettered in multiple colors, and its motto is Route of the Eagle. In addition, we've created and decaled two sets of company cars, the first being a twin-bay hopper for the Gila Basin Coal Company that are used to run between Gila Basin Coal Mine and the West Fork Power Generating Plant. The second group of created cars are the ore cars for the Lone Pine Mining Company for use running ore from Silver Ridge, Red Mesa, and Lone Pine to the Port Allen Steel Mill and returning empty. And now, without further discussion, it is my pleasure to present the pride and joy of the LMRA railroad activity, the Gulf and Denver Railroad Authority HO scale model railroad layout in a series of up-close and personal photos. I hope you enjoy it.